Yeah, it's all interesting stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like how clocks really evolved with us, with people.
Mm.
You know, I think, you know, it's another subject, I think, for another day, I suppose, you know. I mean, do you like clocks? Personal, what's your personal view?
To me, it's not whether or not I like it or not. I think it's one of those things of it serves a purpose, and it's all to do with the sun, the movement, the basically to do with the sun, basically. You know, that's why most clocks are round. A lot of people don't even realise that. That's why most clocks today are round.
I've seen square ones.
I have seen square ones, but if you see
triangle ones.
Look, that clock you got there's round, that one's round, the other one you have was round. Because they're predominantly round because it's to do with the sun.
But they're not all round, some of them are square.
No, I know. I know I have seen some different ones too, of course, you know.
Done some sort of
but what I'm saying is that all the time zones and all this kind of stuff, all that is really to do with is basically the sun. Basically, they understood in certain places because of where the geographical location of wherever they may be. They understood that obviously because of how, you know, the positioning of where they are on the earth, if you see what I mean, in accordance with the sun and everything else. That in some places it would be like okay, let's say Australia. Right now, it's what, almost half past 9 at night here. So in Australia, it's probably almost about 10 o'clock in the morning there for them. Let's say, for example. So right now they're probably experiencing sunshine while we're in darkness.
Or going to sleep.
Yeah, if you see what I mean.
You know.
So, or going to sleep, they're awake, you know what I mean? It's already morning time for them, they're working and living and getting about, and you know, our night is coming to a closure and eventually we'll go to bed. So yeah, it's all to do with the sun. They just understood that in some places, you know, that's just how it went. You know, the sun would rise at certain times and set at certain times.
Yeah, but I think they started writing down when things happened, you see.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how, you know,
observation.
Recording history.
Oh, of course, yeah, that's what
it's all about.
You
know, you think, like, when wars happen, you know, and then who's going to pick up and who's going to bury the bodies afterwards, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and then you sort of, you know, when these things happen, real bad things, you know, all the people are there just standing there looking at the damage, writing about it, do you know what I mean? And wondering how it happened.
Yeah.
You know, writing a little account about, a history account.
Yeah.
You know, and these are kind of reason why clocks are so important in a kind of way. You know, and another thing, like for instance, the Twin Towers when that went down.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a really sad moment for everyone. You know, and that's kind of like pushed a kind of a different reality on everyone in the kind of way in the world we're living in today. You know, changed the reality of the world, that's for sure. You know.
Yeah.
But that was done at a certain time.
Yeah.
On precisely, you know, do you know what I mean, 9/11, whatever, 9/9, not whatever. You know, but even like the London fire, 9666, you know, do you know what I mean? And like all these little things are calculated by clocks, you know, and kind of like even war zones, do you know what I mean? They're sort of, right, we'll start this time, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock at midnight at this time, Monday morning, you know?
Yeah.
That's when we're starting war with you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know, for instance, like UK declared war on Thailand. I don't know when it was. You know, but it wasn't too long ago, eh? Like 1920 maybe. And they just shut up about it. You know what I mean? That, you know, the type, you know, okay. But you know, they've not done anything. You know what I mean? No, but they declared war on Thailand.
Okay.
Thailand means free man. Free country, sorry.
Free country.
Yeah. You know, and you know, but yeah, you know, the UK declared, not me or you, the Queen or whatever, you know.
Yeah, of course.
They declared war on Thailand.
Yeah.
You know, that's the truth. You can Google it.
Who did they not declare war against?
Exactly.
You know, I mean, in the last 400 or 500 years, you know.
Exactly. They're trying to sort of like own everyone, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Like own everyone. Put a stamp on everyone's head.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, we already know this, mate. British imperial, you know what I mean? Imperialism and colonialism, mate, as you know, has, you know.
Well, I think it fires back at the people that did it.
It's got a lot to answer for, mate. You know.
Yeah. And slavery is embarrassing and all that, you know, and that's been going on for years. You know, basically like when, you know, you go right back in history, wars, you know, when one side puts hands up, they're prisoners. Do you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
slaves.
End up becoming like
Nobody wants to know them. Do you know what I mean? You are our enemy. Do you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
know, we're not feeding you anymore. Do you know what I mean? We
Yeah.
don't care if you die.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We're going to punish you. We're going to kill you. You know. You know. I think like now we're getting into the modern world. We're starting to understand. You know, and it's getting a little bit different things. You know, our war weapons are a lot bigger.
Yeah.
You know, quite scary, really.
Yeah.
You know, they're putting everyone in fear. Do you know what I mean? A nuclear weapon, for goodness sake, that can, you know, blow up quite a lot anyway. You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's really sort of.
Well, I was going to say at this point in our existence, right now, I think we are closer to nuclear war than we've ever been before. You know, and that I know that's a hard reality and a harsh thing for a lot of people to accept and to kind of swallow. You know, a harsh truth kind of for people to swallow. But I think, in all honesty, we're closer to nuclear war than we've ever been. You know, I think the way shit's going at the moment, there's a lot of stuff that's escalating, a lot of tensions between different countries, a lot of stuff that's escalating, and whether or not it's all orchestrated or whether or not it's actually truly happening for a fact, there is tensions happening. It's almost like these people are, it's almost like they're intentionally trying to create the end of the world kind of thing, if you know what I mean. Like, it's almost like
I think they put people against people.
Yeah.
You know, they're playing pawns.
Yeah.
You know, like chess.
Playing chess, yeah.
You know, like chess.
Mm.
There is an old poem, something to do with chess. You know, it's very old when actually it was first made.
Yeah.
You know, it's something to do with rice.
Yeah.
And all this. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite interesting, but I can't. You know, obviously I can't remember it right now. It's quite a long poem, but it's about a king that loses everything in the end because he, you know, you know. But it's interesting, you know. So I have to Google that one.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, kings and all that have existed for loads of years.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, and some people are living on the good kingdoms, you know, and they're getting a lot of wealth, whatever, and they're getting looked after, and they're getting a lot of support, and the king's part of the crowd, basically. Yeah. But then you get the other king that wants to control everyone and make money.
Yeah.
You know, and get, you know, grow things for me.
Dominate.
You know, you know. And people don't like that. Do you know what I mean? They put axes up to them.
Oh, of course, yeah. In the end, the people revolt, and then there's a revolution.
That's right.
Excuse me.
You know, and then the good king comes in and takes over that land. Do you know what I mean? It's like chess.
Yeah.
You know, and then again, you know, like kings and queens. You know, like sometimes you get a king and queen living in France, say, or princess, say, and they marry someone in England, and she becomes Queen of England or something.
Oh yeah.
And all that sort of stuff, and they own 2 lands now. Do you know what I mean? Between them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy world.
Power kind of marries into power.
Oh, inherency and all this sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? We're kind of like, because of the inherency, we're kind of like, you know, like making, you know, writing everything down in a kind of way of what we're doing, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In history, you know, through time. Somebody's going around making a note of all these wars happening.
Yeah, of course, of course. But things do get documented, you know, and you know, over time, you know, it gets discovered, and you know.
Yeah, like big massacres.
Yeah.
You know, like certain cities say they, you know, like say that city, say there's a city, yeah, a group of people, and they're happy, whatever, and there's another city over there, and it's full of prostitution, all this sort of stuff. I mean, they don't want anyone to come in there, you know, do you know what I mean? Because they're being a bit destroyed, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, in many ways, you know. And sometimes they destroy those cities completely, put them all out.
Yeah.
So a new generation was begin, you know. And the new generation never knows what's happened. Do you know what I mean? Like, say a baby was born today, they don't really know, or you know, the Twin Towers has happened now, and many other things have happened in history. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like everything that goes on every day gets registered.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and then we move on to the next and see what's going to go on next in the kind of way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I don't believe it's going to end up in a nuclear war.
Mm.
Okay, I don't personally think. I think
Well, it would be absolutely absurd.
everyone's putting their guns up at the moment, yeah.
Yeah.
Because everyone's angry.
Yeah.
Right, but I think like as the pressure gets, you know, like as I say, like the peasants' revolt, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, that happened sort of in the 13th century. You know, loads of peasants sort of like revolted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they didn't win.
Mm.
Okay, that's the kind of war. You know, they ended up getting, you know, slaughtered in the end and taken out of existence completely.
Mm.
You know. So there's no trace of them.
Yeah.
You know, you think about like, for instance, like the Dark Ages, the medieval. You know, what did they name them that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It sounds like a secret to me. What they're trying to cover up. The Dark Ages.
Mm.
Why is it? You know, why is it the Dark Ages? You know.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of like hidden stuff that was going on. You know, that you wouldn't want to know.
Mm. Yeah.
Like a lot of, you know, they're farming people. Lots of us. They've been, I mean, in England itself, you know, for many centuries, they've been farming people just like pigs. You know, they look, you know, these lords up here in their big castles, they look at people down there, no different to the cattle.
Yeah.
You know, the sheep or the cows. Do you know what I mean?
That's it.
You know, and they, you know, a lot of these peasants in the olden days, you know, in the medieval times, couldn't read or write. You know, they just were a community amongst themselves.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
They used to party, have a laugh, you know, and have their little festivals and get married amongst themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And it's like I say, there's two different existence, two different worlds in a way. You know, like sometimes you could be born a silver spoon into that world. You know, like a sovereign. You know, where you don't have to go to the shop or think about money. You don't you go around with a sword and do hunting all day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Everything's looked after.
You know, it is complicated how things have evolved. I know that.
Yeah.
You know, where the peasants they revolt, but afterwards they do get sort of like you know, better conditions. Do you know what I mean? You know, so sometimes when they don't do things right, the peasants start revolting. But sometimes they do it on purpose.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, like for hundreds of years they've been sending English people over to America to settle.
Yeah.
You know, and colonising them in a basic way. You know, and then once they made 13 colonies there altogether, you know, and they had all the people set up there, you know, they wanted to bring tea there, okay, from India as well. India was in it as well, you know, and they wanted to introduce it to America's colonies and other things like sugar, I think, whatever, and tax people.
Okay.
You know, and they accepted it, you know, they had it, whatever. And then later on, in a couple of years' time, they put all the prices up all of a sudden, do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And they didn't like it, you know, the Americans, you know, and they kicked up against, like, they wanted independence, you know.
Yeah.
And then the English come in. It's like they put the sugar up deliberately, right, to cause a racket, you know, sort of cause a violence.
Yeah.
You know, but they wanted a war. They, you know, they were, you know, it's like they were setting up the English to go there and control them all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, an army of people. You know, these are our brothers over there. Do you know what I mean? You know, and they're sort of like, you know, planning a war. Between each other. Do you know what I mean? And then when the British went over there, you know, with their guns, they just killed everyone. You know, all the children, burnt all the grass, and you know, killed everything inside. But you know, eventually the Americans won. You know, they beat them. They went in the dark and got them. Do you know what I mean? And at night time and shocked them on Christmas Day. Do you know what I mean? When they were having their parties. You know? Do you know what I mean? It comes back. It fires back. You know, power people is very. You know, like I said, unfortunately, there's two different. You know, some people live in that side of glass, and some people on this side of glass. You know, a lot of people on this side of glass. Do you know what I mean?
That's it.
You know, when you go to the bank, there's a screen there, and you think, why can't they talk normally? Take the glass away. You know what's going on there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, they're trying to protect themselves from something. You know, but I understand it. You know, people are rob banks. You know. You know, this is the world we're living in. You know, like I say, it's like a sheet of glass in between two different people, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? You know, the lords and the peasants.
Yeah.
Always been.
Yeah.
Always been.
Yeah.
You know, and you think about how many people are struggling in this world today. 99% of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but I think even the 1% are finding it tough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because they look after the world. Do you know what I mean? They've got children too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think unfortunately, I think you've got a lot of people that are in charge that are really running the world that have like some sinister motives. Like, so, you know, if you really analyse the world today and what's really going on and like the indoctrination that is taking place today in regards to how they want to educate children and, you know, about all sorts of shit and...
Yeah, but I think like, you know, the younger
it's...
generation is not having it, do you know what I mean?
No, they're not.
They're very intelligent.
But the thing is that, you know, you're living in a world today that's quite, you know, you could tell that the people that are really pulling the strings and really running shit must have some kind of sinister motives, because the world is kind of in a bad place today. You know, people are just, you know, especially with social media and all sorts of shit, people are just, I don't know, mate, life is just, the world is like a strange place today. It's almost like people cannot differentiate between like real life and social media and you know, it's yeah, it's a little bit scary, really, you know.
Well, you know, you think all this stuff can go, do you know what I mean? Like electric, everything, internet, you know, and then you kind of like, you feel like you've got no, you know, your empty pocket again, don't you? You know, do you know what I mean? No one can watch what you're doing, do you know what I mean, anymore, do you know what I mean? You've got, you know, you know. It's like someone could shut all our powers off, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they could do, yeah. But it's not going to happen because that's not beneficial for them. You know, it's not beneficial for them, mate. For them to, you know, they want their propaganda. They want their propaganda machine running 24/7. You know, and it's quite scary today. Like a lot of people, you know, they don't, you know, they're living in an existence which is kind of like very quite meaningless, if you see what I mean. Like they don't really understand like what life's really about, and
lost.
kind of, yeah, just lost, like no direction, no kind
no
of
density.
Like, no, exactly, just you know,
nowhere, no hope.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, literally just going through life just like, you know, just like a zombie, you know, no critical thinking, no, you know, just living a life, you know, no meaning whatsoever, no, you know, but, yeah.
No, I mean, my life, really, you know, like I say, I've had my bad times, I have, you know, and sometimes they're hard to get over or whatever, you know. But I've enjoyed existing.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I enjoyed my childhood, you know, not all of it, whatever, but I had some magical moments, you know.
Yeah.
And I think really, like, at the end of the day, it really is up to you whether you make the day good or not, you know what I mean? But sometimes, like, for instance, when I was younger, so I didn't want to go to school, but I didn't have no choice.
Yeah.
You know, so that made me unhappy, you know, and as I say, a lot of people are unhappy today because they're not in the place they want to be, you know. We all want to live in a beautiful garden, don't we?
Of course, yeah.
You know, and with a lot of happy people around us, you know, yeah. But we're living almost in a dustbin, aren't we, or our own reality, in a kind of way, you know, like, there's a lot of litter on the streets sometimes, isn't there, you know. I mean, it's not too bad around here, but, you know, depending what town it is and what the society is, or what kind of management that society's got, you know, or the people behave on the management in the kind of way I feel around it, you know. It's like some sort of like game in a kind of way, you know, like when they separated America into 13 places and called it America, and America tried to get the whole place, but they didn't get it quite, so they called that bit Canada.
Yeah.
And they were fighting with the people that's always lived in Canada, the Indians and all this.
Yeah.
Said, look, the Americans are going to get this land if you don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, so they were fighting against the Americans too. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
There's a conflict, and it's got like UK, you know, Britain, has gone around for quite a few hundred years now, just going around, grabbing land, docking there, and farming the people there. Do you know what I mean? Enslaving them.
Oh, of course, yeah.
In the most horrific way.
Yeah.
Like if you don't do the work, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
people are forced with their own lives. You know, from all. Because they poke their nose into every country almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you're going to try to. It's like a monster in a kind of way, like an octopus.
Like a disease. Like a disease. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. A disease that you can't get rid of. A cancer. You know, that's. You know. Destroys society. You know. When you go around enslaving people and indoctrinating people and enforcing your ideology and your religion and etc. upon people, that is just, you know, that's what do you expect, you know, society to become after that, you know?
Well, it's making a misery sometimes for people.
It is, and then,
you know, like all this marriage stuff and all this, and people.
But it's not even that long ago, so you can understand why today, in a way, society is a little bit messed up today, if you see what I mean, in a way, because it's like, it was not that long ago, mate. It's only 400 or 500 years ago, mate, that these people were doing all this shit, you know, where they're going around, you know, committing all these atrocities, you know, and you know, and now the world is the way it is today, and a lot of places have got independent, quote unquote, independence from, you know, these colonial powers and shit, you know. But yeah, they did a lot of, you know, a lot of awful stuff happened during that time period, you know. And of course, a lot of awful stuff has happened throughout human history. We know this, but I was just going to say the last, you know, it wasn't that long ago that, you know, all this shit was still going on 400 or 500 years ago, you know. So yeah, you know, that isn't that long ago if you think about it. If you think the average person lives close to 100 years, that isn't that long ago, mate.
No.
500 years.
I know it's not.
So yeah, we've come a long way, I think, really, realistically, if you think about it, like in the last 500 years, like in terms of like, you know, being, you know, our technological advancement, you know, and how much we've grown as human beings and the society in which exists today, you know, and has evolved, you know, debate.